might appear unto all. So the set man, this is very important, must have hope, and I want to show this here, and must be impregnated with it. If this is all you get from this meeting, get it. All right? When we say hope, we are saying that the set man is looking at the congregation or the ministry as it is physically. But clearly within their heart, they see where they are going. And that individual communicates that hope to the congregation. In other words, let me make what I'm saying plain, and I'll show you how you do it. If you go and fast and pray, let's just say this, the church is 50. And you go and fast and pray for the church, let's give it a congregational prayer for you to get to 500. This is just an example. And in the time of prayer, you got releases in the spirit that you know God heard and answered that prayer. You know that. So you come back to church after the retreat, knowing that, listen, this church is going to grow. You get to service the next Sunday, and the service goes to 75, and you're happy. Now, you see the trajectory. We will soon get to 500 with this trajectory. Now, what's going to happen is that the next Sunday, it will go from 75 to 57. Now, once you get there and it is 57, and you see the empty seats, if those empty seats contaminate your joy, where when you are behind the pulpit, you are depressed by what your eyes have seen, that church will never grow. Did you hear what I said here? Please, I'm about to say something. Here, listen, I will just say this and come down. 80% of the people going to mega churches are coming from small churches, not the world. The reason is, if you are depressed and discouraged about your work when you preach, that spirit enters into the congregation. Hear what I'm saying. You cannot appreciate any other person's work more than the work God has given you, no matter how small it is. See what I'm saying here? The leader is the giver of hope. The leader is the one who comes, all right, let's say whatever the day you are facing congregation, a Sunday or a Saturday, whatever it is, and gives hope to the people. The leader is the one who plants the seeds into the hearts of people every time they preach about where that congregation is going to. Now, when the church grows, starts growing on the outside, I'm sure what's going to say. So they come and they preach. It's 57. The heart of that pastor sinks. Then the next Sunday it goes again, is 62. He gets encouraged a bit. Then it comes the next Sunday, is 37. His heart sinks a bit. That thing is yo. That church will not grow. The day the church will start growing is that he has prepared his sermon. He gets there. It was 67 last week. It is 32 this week. But that number doesn't change the state of his heart or her heart. And they preach, all right, with that joy there. They finish, they get down. It doesn't affect. Which means what you are seeing on the outside doesn't affect the state of your heart. You are on the trajectory for growth. So how do you get there? Let us assume you have prayed and believed in your heart that you received 500. Once you preach and you see 67 and your heart naturally sinks, because it will. Once you finish preaching, enter your office, close the door, and begin to repeat the confession to yourself that this church sits at 500 people and I just preached to 500 people and we had no seats and workers were, do you understand what I'm saying? Listen what I'm saying, and stay alone in that confession until your heart lifts from depression and it stabilizes in joy. Open the door and then go out. That is the work of ministry, not the preaching. I can show you the scripture. Death worketh in us, that the life of Jesus may be made manifest. It says, death worketh in us, but life in you. In other words, any preacher who impacts life to you, it has come as a result of death that has worked on the inside. It is the disappointment they experienced and came out of that they have gotten life to be able to minister to you. The next Sunday you come again, the number is 53. You know what happens this time? Your heart is not as bad as it was the last time, but it still feels a bit sad. Go again, shut the door, and make the declarations. A time will come when your heart will be stable. Once your heart is stable, your obedience is complete on the outside. There's now time to revenge disobedience on the outside. Things will begin to change on the outside. Now, those changes, you are no longer, you are praising and thanking God as a free man from the environment. You are not observing lying vanities again. So the outside, because if you thank God because of improvement, is idolatry. Are you following what I'm saying here? And please understand this in ministry. There's mentorship. There's somebody God sends. A mentor is one you ask questions consistently. But sometimes your breakthrough in ministry will just come from an individual who is a one-off individual who will suggest something to you. And that individual can be less than you in life, but is the person God has given to tell you. We cannot judge wisdom based on external things. Are you following what I'm saying here? So the leader is a giver of hope. You must have a solid confession over your work and rejoice in the reality even when it doesn't seem like it's working. There's the starting point. You rejoice. And we'll see this. It is faith that gets the breakthrough, not your preaching. You hear what I said? It is faith that gives you the breakthrough, not your ability to preach. That's why some people can preach better than some people. Some people can teach better than some people. But those other ones have a bigger impact because it is the law of faith that gives a breakthrough. Are you following what I'm saying? So make sure you are in faith concerning the future. Everybody that has become great, listen to them very well. They'll be telling you about the future when it looks like you think that they have lost their mind. Go to the church and you don't understand the secrets. You know what leaders don't understand about the secret? When you speak words, you are planting seeds into the hearts of people. It is those seeds inside the heart that germinate to create the impact. So if you don't plant seeds into people's hearts, there's nothing there. So make sure you're in faith concerning the future. The leader can be sad and defeated approaching the pulpit or a meeting with a burden, all right, like, oh, we have failed. You know, many years ago, I was in Kano for a while. So I was working with a minister, some of you may know him, some of you may know him, I mean, this old time, all right, Reverend Kola Wosho. So they had a leadership meeting. And in the leadership meeting, they said the church had stagnated at a point. So they were doing strategy, and somebody said, well, it's because our church is, we're not very visible. We are at the corner and all of that. Now, the fastest growing church then in Kano was New Generation Bible Church, I think, Bishop Elomobo. So Reverend Kola told them, he said, in front of the fastest growing church is a refuse dump. If that church wasn't growing, people would have said it's because of the refuse dump. Do you get what I'm saying here? Many times what you're pointing to is not the issue. What is the real issue is that people are more focused on the external disadvantages than the very thing that God is showing them. And I'm saying this, you cannot be focused on the external disadvantages. Listen, and I'm going to close with the structure of ministry. I can't explain it, but just listen to what I say and let it be a seed inside you and go and meditate on it. This is the structure of multiplication that Jesus gave. Jesus said, give people to. Andrew came with 5 loaves and 2 pieces of fish. And he said, there is a lad here that has 5 loaves. But what is this among so many? Many young ministers are saying of their congregation, what is this among so many? Jesus said, give each to